And you can see it kind of reached a point here and then it flattened out and then it dropped. We're gonna say, yeah, that's not good, so how did we improve that? But I would also say we're gonna learn a little bit about why, in our case, that wasn't really a bad thing. Let me open the log file for you. I'm gonna show you how this IAT Spark Table actually came in and saved the day. What's up, guys? It's Bob here with the Tuning School, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up your IAT Spark Table for an awesome forced induction application just like this one. We actually just finished doing this with our Bootcamp, with our GMLS HP Tuners Bootcamp. We did Gen 3, we did Gen 4, and we finished this thing up doing idle, part throttle, full throttle on this 416 LS3 with an awesome ProCharger D1X, making 15 pounds of boost. So what we're gonna do is actually show you why this IAT Spark Table setup is important, how to do it properly, and why it really matters. So of course, we're gonna go ahead here and start with the end point because everybody likes to see how it finished. So we finished at 766 at the wheels on pump gas 93, no ethanol, and just 15 pounds of awesome boost. So taking a look at the green line here, which is our horsepower curve, and by the way, 766 on a Mustang Dyno is making some seriously great power. And you can see it kind of reached a point here and then it flattened out and then it dropped. We're gonna say, yeah, that's not good, so how did we improve that? But I would also say we're gonna learn a little bit about why, in our case, that wasn't really a bad thing. That might have been our tables that we set up properly doing their job. So you have your high octane spark table, and this is where the computer gets its primary spark value from. And when you're in boost, you're anything over 1.0, the cylinders are over full. That's okay, that means you're in boost. This is the value, and this is the stock spark table. So internet, don't lose your mind because these are stock values. This is not what this car was running. But we like to creep up on that, and so we started this car at 10 degrees and eventually found our way to between 14 and 16 degrees at full throttle. But that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about the IAT table today. So this table tells the computer that once you see this amount of intake air temperature, so the actual temperature that the sensor is reporting in the up pipe, so on this particular vehicle, we've got our mass airflow sensor right here in the up pipe, and this has an integrated IAT sensor in it. So we're actually truly measuring the temperature of the air after it's been compressed. So it's a supercharger, goes through the intercooler does its job, and then pushes that air that is now hotter than the outside air in. So if the outside air is probably 80 or 90 degrees, the compressed air is probably significantly higher. So what I want to do is I just want to start by teaching you a little bit more about your thinking, your thought process. When you look at a table, instead of just going with probably what the internet says, like this has to be this, or you're wrong, or you're an idiot, or don't do that, or you're an idiot, or do this, or you're a moron. Don't think that way when you look at tuning tables and parameters. I want you to think about the situation. I want you to think about the build and think about what's actually going on. So what do I mean by that? Well, in this particular situation, this vehicle lives in a forced induction application, right? So what is a normal operating condition for this vehicle? So this sensor lives in the boosted area, so it gets to tell you the pressure, the temperature of that air under pressure. So in a forced induction GMLS application, GMLT, it's not abnormal to see intake air temperatures up to about 150 degrees. So when you're looking at this table, what you should do is consider saying, if this is normal, I'm gonna tune this, my main high octane table, I'm gonna do my tuning, assuming we're living up to 150 degrees. So I don't need this modifier table making adjustments until I hit that point, because that's when things get risky. Over 150, we need to start pulling some spark advance. So what I want you to do is look at your IAT Spark Table and say, hey, if it's forced induction, I'm gonna zero it to a point of what I expect normal will be. So don't zero the whole table, that's terrible practice, but zero it up to the point that you're saying, hey, this is what it should operate in, this is normal operations. After that point, in our case, that's 158, 167, we can take these next two columns and we can cut them in half for still having some good protection there, but not overly aggressive. So typically you'll see this step in with -2, -4, like we have here, -4, -5, -10. So if we're doing full throttle, and we happen to have a problem where the intake air temperature shoots up for some reason, we're going to be working our way across this table. As the temperature goes up, it'll start to pull some spark. It'll say, okay, -4, -5. And if things get really hot, and when I say really hot, forced induction, what that means is anything 175, 200, that's really hot. You need to get either a bigger turbo, or you're overspinning that small turbo, or even a supercharger. Maybe you're spinning it too fast and you're just beating up that air, making it dirty. You need to get a solution for that. But if you don't have a solution for that, you need to be very careful with this table, and that means leaving these very large values alone so that if you start to have a problem, the computer can do something about it. So let's cut to the end point. So we were working on our vehicle, making great power gains. We were seeing nice improvements, and I'm going to show you the scan. Pull that into the screen now. Here we go. So this was the second to last scan. We were creeping up on power progression, and we had previously made a pull at 15 degrees of spark advance, and we had no real issues there, just the occasional little blips of knock. But we started to see, when we added 2 more degrees, the knock sensor kicked in and said, hey man, I hear knock. I'm going to pull some of your spark down. Okay, cool. That sounds reasonable. I want that to happen. But we said, hey, this is too much spark, because now we're starting to see knock, and our students looked at our cameras pointed at the tailpipes, and when you're looking at the tailpipes, you can actually see real knock will occur, looking like puff puff of black smoke. It won't be a haze of black smoke, it'll look like shotgun blasts of black smoke. So the students watching live during the virtual class said, hey, the knock sensors are right, we see real knock happening. So our solution was, let's go ahead and upload a new tune, and we obviously can't tolerate about 15 pounds of boost and about 17 degrees of spark advance. It's just not having it on this pump gas that we've got to work with. So let me open the log file for you. I'm going to show you how this IAT Spark Table actually came in and saved the day. So here is the final pull on this car, and if you do a quick look at it, you're going to say, hey, cool, so I've got my AFR command at 11.5, full throttle, I'm seeing 11.2, and even a little bit richer here, no problem. Our spark was pretty close. We were commanding 13 or 14 degrees of spark advance. Everything was happy. We saw a little bit of knock here, like half a degree, and I'm going to chalk that up to some heat accumulation because we were doing back-to-back pulls. Not that I still wouldn't have cleaned it up, but it didn't stop us in our tracks. But what really caught our attention was we looked at our power curve. And so let me just pull this graph back open here. And I'm going to show you up against this one. So check this out. You could see the power just started to drop substantially. And so once we hit around 6,000 RPM, power starts to level, drop. So why is that occurring? So we said, hey, wait a minute, we had a good clean pull. There wasn't a lot of knock here. How did we lose all that power? Well, as it turns out, there's a reason that the computer pulled the spark down from 14 to like 8.5 degrees here as we approach 7,000 RPM. And so if you do a quick look, you can see, guess what came in to help us save the day? This IAT Spark Table came in and said, hey, we need to pull some of that out because I see a hot intake air temperature situation starting to occur. So why don't we take a look at, we've got IAT right here at 174, actually coming right on up. And you see this trend is this line rises rapidly. But keep in mind, if we were happy with our IATs, like I said, up to about 150, that means at 6,200, we were fine with our intake air temperatures and our spark advance that we commanded was really fine. But if you look, it starts to climb really rapidly. So 6,600, 150 kind of exceeds our threshold. And now, as we continue to rise, take a look at how high the spark or this intake air temp gets to right after it peaks, right after we hit 72, 7,300 RPM here. We're in the high 170s, low 180s. That's extremely high. So here's all I'm saying, and I'm going to wrap this up. The computer said, hey man, I know you can't see this right now, and truthful, I actually wasn't watching IAT when we were doing this pull. We were looking at what's my wideband say, how's my knock, we're going to keep pulling if we don't see anything crazy here. But the IAT did its job. That table came in and said, hey man, you're getting kind of hot, I'm going to pull some spark out to actually prevent you from having excessive knock. So this was a great adjustment to our table, and it really helped us figure out what was wrong. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, we'll catch you guys next time when we look at another parameter and see how we can help you guys better understand what's going on in your game.